and thank you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Cortney Bloomer. Today's episode is brought to you by Lone Mountain Veterinary Hospital, providing top-notch care for your pets in Carson City. Our guest today is the president of Tahoe Mountain Milers and ultramarathoner, and my friend, EJ Maldonado. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cortney.
Running in Carson City is becoming kind of a big deal.
It is.
You're not just a runner, you're the cover model of the visitor's guide for Carson City.
Yeah, I think that was a happy accident, to be honest with you. It was actually it was a cool collaboration because we were in the middle of promoting Prison Hill and we had a lot of changes to the course. So that's when Joel Dunn came into the picture, because we were talking about how we could actually promote Carson City, the running aspect, and Prison Hill all combined into one. And we're like, we don't have much time to do it, because I think we were about a month out. So it was really interesting on how that all came to pass, because he says, well, let's put you in the feature in the fall, or the summer fall edition. And then that's when I found out that I'd be on the cover at that time too. So that was a total surprise to me. So thanks to Joel and Kyle and everybody over the visitor tour. Those guys are great. Absolutely.
As a result of that, you're kind of the face of running in Carson City. You've organized a lot of runs, but you weren't always a runner.
No, by no means. You know, I'm one of those past college athletes that then let themselves go, didn't take care of themselves for a period of time, saw myself balloon up to 300 pounds, and then and that's actually when we met.
That is when we met.
Yeah, and you know, at that point, that's when I was like, I got to do something with myself. It, felt miserable. I thought everything was wrong except for myself, and that's when I was like, no, it was me. I had to do something. So running was the key.
And you started out slowly. You have a great story, because really anyone who's thinking about running can start running.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You're right. No, I started 5 minutes on a treadmill, 5 minutes running, 5 minutes walking. And then all of a sudden I got brave enough to go out on the street, because I didn't want to get to that point where it's like, oh, I'm so tired now, I got to get back home. Finally got confident enough to do that. And then, once you get to a mile, 2 miles, and then you just start expanding. But you're right. Anybody can start at any given time, and you don't have to run the entire time to start.
Right. You can walk. You
Absolutely.
can hike.
And especially with the hills, the trails that we have here, hiking is just as good as running.
That's right. And people can start by getting involved with Tahoe Mountain Milers. You are the president of the club. Tell us a little bit about the club and the kinds of runs that you guys do. There really is something for everybody, from beginners to really hardcore runners.
Absolutely. And I think that's the one thing that we always try to do. We try to be very inclusive in that regard. And Tahoe Mountain Milers have been around for a long time. We do 6-7 races a year, but we do on the average of about 3 group runs every week. And what we try to do is everything on an out and back. So then that way we do incorporate all different levels of runners. So if somebody only wants to go out a mile and can come back, they certainly can. If they want to go out the full distance, then they can come with us. But the best thing about it is that always somebody is at certain points of those out and backs, so we can make sure that the group stays together, and somebody always is there at the end of the race or the end of the run to make sure everybody's together. Or everybody got back safe. That's right.
That's right. And they have a website and a Facebook page where folks can go and learn about the upcoming runs.
Absolutely. So it's Tahoe Mountain Milers, but mountain is MTN, so TahoeMTNMilers.org. And then that has everything that from our schedules to all of our races. But on Facebook, we're Tahoe Mountain Milers, but we also have Carson area runners too. So if anybody ever wants to come see us, they can just ask to join. It's a closed club, so we can just make sure that everybody who is involved is, there to make sure that they want to do for the runs, because everybody promotes a lot of stuff on there too. So we want to make sure it's a safe community, but also just open to everybody who wants to come out and run with us.
And also to really just provide support. It's a really supportive group, encouraging
100%
for people of any level.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you're a beginner or you're this monster runner, everybody can still be out there and have a good time and still get something out of it. And that's the one thing we always want to promote, is the fact that every run that you do is for you. You don't have to match up with somebody unless you can match up with somebody who's at your pace, but you don't have to try to compete with anybody when you're out there on those runs.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the best part about it.
Just go your own pace.
Absolutely.
Get out there. It's all about having fun and getting to experience some of the trails.
Yes.
That we have
beautiful trails too. Such beautiful trails. And we could talk about that for hours too.
We could talk about just the trails, and we'll get to that. But first, I want to talk about, you mentioned at the very beginning of the interview, Prison Hill, which is, of course, the Escape from Prison Hill half marathon. That's not the only race that Tahoe Mountain Milers puts on. You just wrapped up the Tahoe Rim Trail.
We did.
And you've got upcoming the Kokanee trail run that is going to take place in October.
That is true, absolutely. So, but congratulations on the 55K.
Thank you.
So, as you know, the TRT is our mothership, and you know it happens in July. But the good thing is we have some break up until we start back in October again, where we have Kokanee. And the best thing is we partner up with Ascent Runs, and we do that double half marathon. So if people want to do a marathon in 2 days, they can do it. So the Flume Trail is on the Saturday, and Kokanee is on the Sunday. And I believe this year we're the 7th and 8th. Is what it is.
I think
is that
right.
Saturday, Sunday.
And those races are back to back. They're both half marathons.
They are, and in beautiful trails. So if you think about the Flume takes place up on the TRT and then takes the Tahoe Flume Trail to Tunnel Creek and then back. And then Kokanee, and a lot of people haven't been out to Fallen Leaf Lake and Tahoe Mountain, and it's beautiful out there. Camp Richardson area.
And that's a fantastic time. It's during the salmon run. That's why it's the Kokanee
Absolutely.
half marathon.
Yes.
So people can start now and actually go do this run.
100%. And you know, the best thing about those two runs is that the cutoffs on there, or at least the times that you have to finish by, you don't have to be this person that crushes a half marathon.
No,
and
very generous time cutoffs. You can
absolutely.
go up there and kind of hike a good portion of it and still be able to finish. And
absolutely.
And the atmosphere at the finish line for both those races is really fantastic.
Oh, it is. It's so much fun
to hang out and talk about your experiences out on the trail.
Oh, no doubt about it. Everybody's great from beginning to end. I mean, all the volunteers that we have, we couldn't do what we do without our volunteers, and it's a good thing that we have a good volunteer base for every single race that we have out there. I love it. I do. Such a great community, and that goes to show too, because a lot of our volunteers aren't runners,
right?
You know, or don't do those types of distances, but they're still there every single race or every single event that we have. So I'm so appreciative of that.
And you are the race director for Prison Hill.
I am. I took it over from Steve Lang this year, and you know, the good thing is that Steve and I still work together on this year, because we had to reroute the course based on the damage that was done over by Mexican Dam. Made it harder. Made it more of a true 13.1. I think we were just about a 10th off. But you know, with the work that Jeff Potter and Muscle Power are going to be doing on Prison Hill, it's going to change the course a little bit this coming year too. But it's going to be beautiful. All the single track that we're going to have as a result of their work that they're going to be doing over the next 6 months is going to be amazing. Maybe even like 8 months. Yeah.
Something to look forward to next year for Prison Hill.
Oh, absolutely.
Another new course. The course last year was super hard.
It was.
That climb at the end was super hard.
I know. We added another 550 feet to climb. I know.
So you are, as we kind of mentioned, you kind of came from nothing run-wise to a lot of running. You're one of a few people who has the distinction of having run every leg of the Reno Tahoe Odyssey.
Yeah.
What is it about runs? What brought you to running?
Wow. You know, it was probably just one of those things that when I finally got out of that funk, I was like, what can I just do for me? And I think running was it. And as much as I probably didn't like running as much, because, you know, with organized sports, it always seemed like running was just part of the sport, and you had to run a lot of times for punishment, right? If you guys did something wrong, go out and run. So I had to kind of maybe retrain myself a little bit out of that. But once I started, it hooked. It really did. And the moment I transitioned from road to trail, that was it. I mean, you can just go for days on trails. You can connect so many different things. You can get lost out there, you know, both mentally and I guess literally too. You could probably get lost.
But hopefully not.
But hopefully, right, absolutely. And the good thing about our trails is you can always connect to something and never get lost. But I think I just found it. I can't truly articulate it, but it was just one of those things that once it came together, it just made sense. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and yeah. I think people who are runners, or folks who do other sports, hiking, mountain biking, will understand that part of it is just being out there.
It is. It just experience it. I mean, I always talk about the payoff, and everybody, you know, especially when we do harder runs or we have some significant climbs, to talk about the payoff. And that's usually those views that you get that you don't see from your couch, you don't see from the street level, because you have to get up there to get there. And that's probably one of those aspects, is that you get to see and you get to experience things that you don't normally would if you just never left the house or just left the street, for that matter.
That is true. So give us a few tips for folks who are just starting out, maybe some trail safety, some trail etiquette, things that people might want to know that they wouldn't necessarily think of starting out with trail running?
Sure. I think some of the big things with trail running is make sure proper attire. Always, there's never bad weather, there's always bad clothing choices. We always say that. So if it's warm, make sure you're dressed appropriately. Make sure you have water with you, food, depending upon how long you're going to be out there. And I always like to say, especially if you're starting out, if you anticipate being out there a half hour, you should plan to be out there an hour, hour and a half, just in case. There's always things that can happen.
Take plenty of water with you.
Absolutely, plenty of water. Be familiar with trails. If you're not familiar with trails, I really think you should partner up with somebody. It's always better if you always go out with somebody that's maybe familiar with it, or at least both of you guys are exploring together, because I think the best thing about our trails, and we said it earlier, was that they all connect. I love it here because you can go out for miles. You can go out for 5-8 miles, but the trails are connected in such a way that you're never within maybe 1 or 2 miles away from civilization. So you're not out in the middle.
You can find your way back. If you stay on our Ash Canyon trails, the trails at Centennial,
Sea
the
Hill,
trails on Prison Hill, the trails on Sea Hill, all of those loop back around to town, and you're not going to get lost. You can see town the whole time.
Absolutely, and you can at least beeline if you needed to, if there was some type of emergency, or if you needed some to get your bearings, you always could have them. And I think that's the benefit. You can feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, but not really be that far away from help if you needed it.
Right.
So, and I think the other thing is to, of course, build up to what you want, as far as what you want to accomplish. If you wanted to go out, because 5 miles on the road is different than 5 miles on the trail.
Right, and don't look at your pace so much. If you're a person who can go out and blast road miles, don't think you're going to go that fast.
Absolutely. Yeah, so don't be discouraged about that too. If you look at your splits and you're like, I'm not doing this mile per hour, or, this many miles per mile. But I think, I don't know. Yeah, it's just an adjustment, but it's a happy adjustment, I like to think.
Right.
Because trails are just much better than roads. Not taking anything away from roads, because we have a road race too. That's the Nevada Day Classic at the end of October. So, but I mean, trails are just something different.
It is. It's a great way to get out and experience our community, and really just kind of relax a little bit.
Absolutely.
You don't have to worry about your pace. You don't have to worry about who you're competing with, and you get to the top of that big climb, and like you said, it's a real reward to get out there and be overlooking Lake Tahoe or overlooking the valley.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, where else can you go? I mean, Carson City, you don't even have to get into a car to get to Tahoe if you didn't want to. All of our trails connect up there too. How wonderful is that?
Right? You can get there from here. All on trail.
All on trail. Yeah, never a car needed.
EJ, thank you so much for being with us today.
I really appreciate it.
One more time, let's remind people, Tahoe Mountain Milers, Tahoe MTN Milers.org.
Yes.
To go online, check out the club, join the club, come do some runs.
Absolutely.
And they're not all long runs. There are like 5K distances for people.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing too, real quick, is the fact that just come out with us. You don't even have to join the club initially. We accept everybody. You don't have to be a member to be part of our runs.
Right. So come on out.
Yes, please do.
Run a little bit with us.
Yeah.
EJ, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City, brought to you by Lone Mountain Veterinary Hospital in Carson City, providing top-notch veterinary services for all types of animals, pets, here in Carson City. I'm your host, Cortney Bloomer. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.